Welcome to Believe in Chargers. Festive atmosphere there on top of us. You see the Christmas lights. Lowe is on the road. We appreciate him rallying to join us, and why wouldn't he? It's presented by FanDuel. A big thank you to our friends at FanDuel. You see it on FanDuel. You can obviously chase it on FanDuel, and we love that. Right now, Chargers dogs to the Cowboys, 2.5-point dogs. So get after that if you're feeling pretty confident of how well this team is playing. But with the great Lorenzo Neal, should be Hall of Famer, and we anticipate that happening at some point in the future. Don't think he has to put it on pause like his friend Philip Rivers for 5 years, but we'll get to that a little bit as well. But, Lo, I got to believe, and everybody that I was chatting with out at Arrowhead, a lot of Charger fans out there in Kansas City for this one, they wanted the celebration, the coronation, throwing dirt on what has been a dynasty for the last 8 years as the Chiefs fall to the Chargers. They sweep them for the first time since 2013, and they basically punched their ticket into the postseason. It was a lot of fun to be out there. I got to believe you had a lot of fun watching it.
Oh, how could you not? And you talked about it. We talked about it all last week. You said, let's put the final nail in the coffin. Let's see if we can let the Chargers be the one that says, bury the Chiefs, and have the grave digger go out there and says, you are finished, and play the grave digger song. That's all they needed to play, and that would have been legendary. But you just watch this team go out there on the road in Arrowhead, no matter what. Yes, this is a down year for the Chiefs, but they just played solid defense. The defense was absolutely humming. You see Derwin James in the game to close out its closing time with the interception. Kudos and our thoughts and prayers, of course, with the great Mahomes. AC, that was horrible, but this team, you got to tip your hat to them to go on the road in Arrowhead in a tough situation. And the Kansas City Chiefs fighting for the playoffs with hope in life, they put a nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Lo, they were bullies. They bullied this team, and so would love, from one of the game's ultimate bullies, one of the great bullies in the history of football, share with us, kind of what goes into that, how quickly you can set that tone, and what it does to an opponent. Because, yeah, it was on defense. Defense, they slapped them around real good. You saw the tone that was set with Rashee Rice getting blown up twice, legal hits, just physical hits from Tony Jefferson and from Derwin James. And anytime they tried to get something going in the run game, felt like Khalil Mack was there with a fist in the chest of Pacheco. They wanted nothing to do with it. But on offense, you had Amari and Hampton pop Nick Bolton right in the chin. He had to leave, get that thing sewn up. And then he comes back in the game and he gets trucked by Scott Matlock on the right sideline. Kind of what goes into establishing that physical presence, that physical dominance, and what it does, and how you can then build off that as a game continues to roll along through its 60 minutes.
It's crazy, Money. I was watching that game, and there was moments with the way Matlock was playing and what they were doing in the quick passing game, K4, K5. K4 is where, you go to the right side, and the defensive end, our linebackers there, you're going like you're going to run power, and you get right on his toes, you step on him, think you're going to block him, and he drops his shoulder, and you just slip out right into the flat and catch a little pass, pick up 4 or 5. I would have had probably 7 or 8 passes. I was like, hardball, make the call. You brought in Philip Rivers. They brought him in. Hey, I'm 10 years older. Bring in the old fella. Let me just catch it. Turn up field. Let me see if I can drop that helmet. I've been in the gym, Money, lifting hard. I want some of that. Watching the way this offense took the ball and absolutely pounded. When I watch Martin Hampton come in there on that friggin' lead and just smack him right in the mouth, the safety comes there to think he's going to play big boy and fill that hole. It was like a heavyweight fight. Watch him, boom, get hit, and he's just reaching. He still made the tackle, but that you heard the sound from the TV. He kissed him in the hole, and it was like, do I want to keep doing this? Am I going to make a decision? You saw the way these backs and the offensive line, how they were just mauling guys. I was surprised to see the physicality on offense and defense, how they said it was a mindset. Didn't want to go huge. We're not just going to try to blow. No, we're going to make this ugly. And if they play this type of football, because we know the offensive line has its limitations, but I'm telling you, Harbaugh takes that ball out of Herbert's hand and say, yeah, son, I know you can spin it, but we don't have all the weapons as far as on front to spin it. And we're going to run the ball 35 to 40 times and only go throw 20 to 25 in defense. You play the way, and we're just going to line up and play big boy ball and not turn the ball over. I'm telling you, with the AFC the way it is right now, no one scares me. Even with this team, and we talked, this offensive line is going to be a struggle. But if you play that type of ball and not drop Herbert back 7 foot and not 7-step drop and have him trying to look for, because a lot of bad things happen. Interceptions, sacks, fumbles. I like the way that game plan was played. I loved it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Lo, and you hit on it there, and it's we need the offense to match the defense, right? I think since the bye, we've got no concerns about what Jesse Minter's doing, and kudos to him. He's changed quite a bit. I tell you, man, I want him to be here forever. I do, but I cannot believe that he's going to get through this next cycle and not end up getting a head coaching job. He might be in play for Michigan. Obviously won a national championship there, coordinating their defense, but I can't believe that he's not one of the top level coordinators that are ready to make that jump. I mean, you just watch his pressers. Go to chargers.com and watch his pressers, how he communicates, how detail oriented he is. And, you saw what Jacksonville did to him, gashed him in the run game, set him up with explosive pass plays. Defense looked lost. Guy goes into the bye week, comes out. They're playing a ton more man. He's kind of adjusted his rotations, where before he was doing a lot of those hockey line sort of substitutions where it was Owe and Dupree or Khalil and Thule, and now he's into that 3-man rotation like he had when Bosa was here, when it was just Bosa, Thule, and Mack, and there were always 2 of those 3 on the field, and now he's got that with Owe. And look out, man, Joe Ortiz with the trade of the year. Not that we don't miss Aloe. He's awesome, and he had a big interception in that game last week. It's kind of a win-win trade, right? What they needed, what we needed. But you see that bend, you see that explosiveness, that athleticism, and when those 3 guys are on the field now, like we had with Bosa, Thule, and Khalil, when Thule was getting all those, I use the hockey term again, the hockey assists and those sacks for those guys. Now it's Thule that's getting the sacks. I mean, guards they can't deal with him. They have no chance against that guy. And so we know that front's going to be there, and that front helps that back end, right? Kind of complement each other. But I think the one question is what's going on with the offense? Like, what's the right way? What can we get? What can Coach Roman do to try to get this thing right? Because, man, it felt like there were a couple moments in that Chiefs game where they could have put this thing away, and you go back and watch it, and it's like, it's not quite there. And so I don't know if it's I'm looking at the splits here. It's 29 passes to 29 runs. 50-50 split. We'd love to see that, but I don't know if it's more runs. I don't know if there's just adjustments that need to be made, but that is the one concern I have still coming out of this game, that they only scored 16 points when their defense was that dominant.
It was dominant, and I think the number's 21. If you can get to 21 to 23, just if 24 is the number, if the offense can find a way to say, let's get 24. If you can get 24, this is going to be a tough out. So you find a way to muster a way to turn those threes and those field goals into touchdowns, maybe just one of them or 2. Now you get your 24. That's the big thing, because your offense, I like what they did complimentary, saying, okay, we're going to run sometimes on 1st and 2nd down. And I saw them in 3rd and 2. Then bam, little fullback in the flat or quick little slant and move the chains. They committed to the run. I'd like to even see maybe, continue a little bit more run, a little bit more power, a little bit more, because you can run the ball. It's just guys have to stay committed like you did. And if you can find a way to make 3-4 field goals, okay, turn one of those into a touchdown, because the defense, like you're saying, they played good enough. But you saw the sacks. The sacks were down. Yeah, you got a couple of sacks, but you at least give up 8. You know what you're limited in the offense. And you know if you give Herbert the time, he can carve you up as a passer. We get that. But if you can pound the ball and be in 3rd or 2 or 3, you're going to see the success rate of this offense, because now you can, on 3rd and 2, maybe 3rd and 3, to drop back because they're going to be playing press man, and maybe they're only bringing 4. You might have a little time. You make him find a double team here and there because they think it's 3rd and 2. They'll say, okay, guys, they're going to be at the sticks, and they're playing hard press man, so he might can get a double move real quick and let Herbert lay one in there. Those things can happen when you're winning on 1st and 2nd down, and limit Herbert to 3rd and 2 or 3 instead of 3rd and 6 or 7, when teams can pin their ears back and you can't hold them up front.
Yeah, and I think, to me, if there's one thing that, and I don't want to, I want to stay positive, because obviously it's a huge win. The Chiefs are done. The Chargers knocked them out of the playoffs. They had to deal with that in that post-game press conference in their own building. All of those fans in 11-degree weather coming out to support their team and leaving super sad was awesome. But I think, speaking to your point, let's start kind of what you were talking about with the defense up front. And I think there's a couple things that come out of that game, and also came out of the Eagles game that I don't want to hear. Like I don't want to hear it, because people have been attacking Herbert this year for having a down year, and they don't want to give him the excuse of having his fifth and sixth tackles and having a guard that's only out there 50% of the time and looks like he's not healthy the other 50% of the time. You got a center that's been a little bit leaky, a lot of bit leaky this year, and like no one's doing that. So we come out of that Kansas City game, it's like, wow, I mean, what do you expect? You lose your tackles. You got Kingsley playing guard, and maybe he's more of a tackle, and Trey Smith isn't out there. Where was that? Where was that? Because when I'm watching Patrick Mahomes drop back, and I see what Jesse Minter's got dialed up, and he doesn't. It's one different coverage after another. Every single drop back, Mahomes looked lost, and those receivers are they have not done a great job of drafting receivers. You got a bunch of guys that are 170 pounds that if they can't beat you right off the line and go flying down the field, they got nothing. They're not route runners. They're not winners. No. They're not guys that are going to help Patrick Mahomes out. And I don't know what's going on with my watch. It wants to call 911. I don't need you to call 911. Mahomes needed you to call 911.
Yeah,
take that thing off.
911.
But I felt like it was discounting what Jesse Minter. I mean, here's your pressure rates. Thule, 24% pressure rate. 1 out of every 4 snaps, he's pressuring the court. He had 8 pressures. Khalil had 7 pressures. Owe had 4. And Deshaun Hand, because there was so much pressure coming from those edges, ends up getting 5 pressures. I mean, they sacked him 5 times, and there were no answers up front. So when you've got that, when you've got that on the defensive side, you're going to get opportunities on offense. They're going to give you short fields, 2 interceptions. They're going to get you turnovers. A lot, Khalil's so good at strip sacks. So is Thule. Right. He's got violent hands. So you're going to get those opportunities. And I think to your point, got to get the offense to catch up and turn those things. When you got a 1st and goal from the 5, and you end up, having a 3rd and goal from the 11, and you're running, and I'm watching. There's no answers. There's no easy buttons. There's no answers to the test. Herbert climbs the pocket, and is trying to leap and throw something. None of his guys are open. There's that part of it's got to get cleaned up, because you got the talent, man. You can't tell me with Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey and Arondé Gadsden and how well these rookies are playing now, with especially Trey Harris, how sound his hands are, how good his route running is. Like I feel like there's got to be some more answers for Herbert, who, when I'm watching the film back, I'm just like, I don't know what people want him to do. I don't know where he's supposed to go with the ball. It's a 3rd and 6, and there's guys 15 yards down the field, not even out of their breaks yet. 3rd and 11, they're 20 yards downfield. It's just been a little bit weird, and I know I'm rambling here, Lo. I'll finish with this, though. The one thing, and I don't know if you can, this is something that I'd love for you to kind of build on. He just doesn't look comfortable. When I watch Herbert now drop back, it looks like someone who is not comfortable when he's taking those steps. And it's not because of pressure. I feel like it's because of what he's being asked to do and what he's supposed to see. It doesn't look right.
It looks like a fighter that just took some shots. Here's a fighter that he's scared to let it go at times. Not scared, but just kind of complacent and just like hesitant, because he's used to bad things happening. It's no different than Mahomes. Mahomes, we talk about, was the greatest quarterback since sliced bread. Is he going to ever outdo, the great Tom Brady? But you watch Mahomes. He's back there looking around at times. He looks flustered. He looks unsure of himself at times. You see the inconsistency at times, throwing dirt balls and watching balls get away, or because, like you said, guys can't necessarily separate. He's trying to do too much. And it's the same thing. Herbert is a great quarterback. Mahomes is a great quarterback. But when you put it on their shoulders, and they know that their defense is playing both, because Kansas City's got a good defense too.
Yeah.
And when they know that their defense has got a lot on right, and you watch them, they'll try to jump pass, they'll try to side them, they're trying to extend plays. And sometimes it turns into worse plays. And that's what you see sometimes from Herbert. It's not that his greatness isn't there. It's inability sometimes to protect. Guys are taking turns. Sometimes the weather's bad, so receivers aren't getting in and out of their breaks. They're cold. They're not moving. That's no inexcusable 1st and goal from the 5, and you can't punch it in. This is a hard ball, and Harbaugh wants to be physical. You just got to match what your coach is trying to do, and sometimes they just can't get it done offensively, and they can clean those things up. And yes, you should be. It's okay for you, money, to say I'm expecting more out of my offense. You should, because they do have the weapons with receivers. Come on, Keenan, one of the best route runners in this game still today, still smooth. Understand he knows where to sit down in the soft zones. And McConkey, he's in and out of breaks. Look at McConkey. You catch the ball in front of him, he's going to make you miss. McConkey is a friggin' stop and go receiver, can cut on a dime, leave 10 cents change. They have the talent to be better. They got to clean it up. They have to clean it up moving forward because you're getting ready. We're talking about this playoffs run that you're going to hopefully try to get, because there are some teams out there. It's one team out there that I want to play, but anyone else in the AFC, I'll play them. I'm not necessarily afraid of them. And right now, I look at the Houston Texans, and of course, Buffalo, what they are, but Houston's probably one of the hottest teams in the AFC. But I really believe this Chargers team, if they continue to play defense like that and find a way to clean up some things on offense, turning one or two of these field goals into touchdowns, are we having the same conversation? Because now you reach the number 24 or 21 or more. If this team gets to 24, I'll take my chances. I don't think if you don't turn the ball over and this offense scores 24, I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to beat them in the AFC.
Yeah, and I think, just to kind of sort of reiterate, or not reiterate, but just kind of clarify, I probably did a poor job of it. My point, like, I'm not putting this on Herbert. Like, for me, it's when that interception that he threw, it's a 3rd and 11. And I'm watching, and they got 7 on the line of scrimmage. It looks like a 0, right? They got 7 guys coming with their ears pinned back, and one-on-one matchups. 2 of them drop out. There's nothing. There's no release. There's no hot read. There's 3 guys running go routes. And I'm like, what? And you can see he's just kind of like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? I've got 6 guys in my lap, and I've got no release. I've got no one in that, in that middle part of the field that's wide open by 20 yards. I've got 3 dudes running downfield. They're already 10 yards past the sticks. And I've got 6 guys on my lap. Like, it's things like that you watch and you're trying to figure out, man, it feels like with Ladd McConkey and, with Keenan, like, these are guys that can beat press, that they're going to get open in the first couple seconds. And to Greg Roman's credit, he adjusted in that second half. Then you started seeing a little bit more of that. You started to see those releases. You started to see Amari and Hampton leak out, or Kimani Vidal leak out a little bit. There was some more quick game, the play to Arande that set up that 1st and goal. It's beautiful, right? He takes the snap. He's rolling out. Right. He's not sitting in the pocket, like just waiting to get drilled. Instead, he rolls to move the launch point. Matlock ends up sealing off Mike Dana perfectly so he can climb the pocket, and Gadsden runs, he scrapes across the line, bends inside, so he's got inside leverage on that seam route, and it's there. And it's like, okay, let's get more of that. Let's move this guy, man. Let's take the snap and let's put him on the move. You know how good he is when he's throwing on the move, right? It's like, give this guy give him some stuff, man. Let's get him to match this, because, man, and I guess the reason why, and I'm not trying to make it a negative, because I am just so damn excited about this defense, Lo. This defense is it, man. This defense is it. They are good enough to keep this team in every playoff game they are in.
Oh, no question. And not just, and when you move the pocket, now Herbert, with his speed and his legs, he becomes a double threat. You get him outside the pocket. Now that safety's got to commit. He starts running linebackers. They can't just sag and keep dropping in the coverage. They got to come, because Herbert can hurt you with his legs. We've seen him do it week in and week out with great consistency. So that has never been the issue. I think even furthermore than that, you and I both, and I think everyone as a Charger fan and everyone in that room, that in the Chargers organization, would say Herbert's a smart guy, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. A genius of a guy, knows football. So why can't he side adjust? You got a quarterback up there, the season in line of scrimmage, and he understands. He watches plenty of tape. Okay, hey, boom, it's a hot read. You check certain things. Okay.
I just don't think they're there, Lo. I don't think it's in the scheme. I don't think it's in the play call. But
that's what I think they got to figure that part out, because you got a smart quarterback. And last I looked at McConkey's a smart guy, and Keenan, we know, a smart guy. He's seen more often. So you don't think that you check and you look at a guy. Look at Aaron Rodgers the other day. You saw his tight end. They're playing off, and he is a read, and he just picks it up and throw a hot read, understanding, right? Because they're on the same page. That's what you have. You have to have little audibles like that. It's inevitable. You have to, especially this time of year. You watch certain teams, they're just on the same page. Understand this guy's playing off, man. It's 3rd and 3. He's playing 10 yards off the ball. You look at Aaron, they think it's going to be run. He looks at the guy, and they just, I'm surprised with Keenan and this quarterback, as long as they've been together, that certain things are just, and every team I've been on, Money, it's certain things that with Phillip, where it's Gates or, with Eric Parker, they're watching the guys playing off for certain, 5, 6 yards. Hey, look, I'm going to pick this thing up. And they just on that page. And I am surprised because the quarterback that we have, Herbert, who he is as a player and as a mental study who knows football, surprised he didn't have a little more leverage.
Yeah, and look, I think it's stuff that can get cleaned up because we've seen the games, like we've seen them dominate. You think about the Minnesota game and what they were able to do, the Steelers game, what they were able to do. Like Greg Roman has had some really, really good games this year, and I just feel like these last two, not sure if he's just trying to protect Justin's hand or what, kind of what it is that's gone into what he's drawn up and what the play designs are and what he's trying to execute offensively. But it feels like these last 2 weeks, when your defense has found its peak and is operating at, the highest efficiency level we've seen all season long, for how important each of these games are. I mean, you just knocked off the defending Super Bowl champions and a team that has won the AFC West for the last decade plus straight in back-to-back weeks on short weeks, while, the defense has been, again, giving you these opportunities to really put these things away. And it's 5 field goals last week for, 2 weeks ago against the Eagles for Cam, 3 field goals this last week. And it just feels like there's a little bit of meat being left on that bone. With Amari on back, I think that's going to help. You saw some of that again. It's like that second week back. It's like, okay, he busted that thing out on that left sideline for 26. And you're starting to see that. And maybe that's the path. Lo, we talked about Trevor Penning. So he 4 snaps as the 6th offensive lineman 3 weeks ago, 10 snaps this 2 weeks ago as the extra offensive, as a 6th offensive lineman against the Eagles. And then he was in there for 50% of the snaps this week against the Chiefs. So it's clear they're leaning into that. They recognize, okay, no Tucker Fisk because he's on IR, so he's going to miss at least 2 more games. This is how we have to operate. With Jamari Sawyer and Bobby Hart as our tackles, we've got to get that 6th offensive lineman out there. And it works. And it worked great. And I thought Trevor was great in the run game. He was great when Mekhi Becton left, and had to fill in for him at guard. I thought he had a few good reps in there as well. So that to me is something that Greg Roman's identified and said, okay, let's change it up. Let's make sure we get this thing going. And maybe that's the path. That's what we're going to see against Dallas, a defense that is, let's see, I got it right here in front of me. This defense against the pass is dead last. They are giving up 255 passing yards per game. So against the run, they are, let's see, not nearly as bad, but still giving up 120 per game. Chargers, by the way, just over 100 yards per game against the rush. They are 3rd against the pass right now. And when you look at the Kansas City game, they couldn't run on them. Khalil Mack was just a tour de force, and Denzel Perriman was like, "You want to hit that hole? You know what's coming? Darkness. That's what's coming. You want to go between that A and B gap. Darkness is going to be there waiting for you." So there's a lot of positives to take out of that game. Cam Dicker not being affected by the elements and the cold ball. Whatever, dude. You want it from 50? I'll bang it from 50. Give me a 60. Right. I'll probably put that through. JK, I thought, punted the ball really well. We had some great, a great return from Keandre Lambert-Smith to start that drive at the end of the first half, Low. Here's someone we were wondering, without Darius Davis, who's in a walking boot, can someone step up and give this team some sort of return game? And bang, Keandre Lambert-Smith returned to the 40. He ends up getting that touchdown on a 40-second drive when they had nothing going that entire first half. And, man, that flipped the feeling inside that stadium going into halftime.
That really did, because at halftime you said, oh, my God, Kansas City just came up a score. And you're like, okay, only like 40 seconds left. How did the Chargers – you're like, where's this offense been? We'll go down in 40 seconds and score a touchdown. But it all started. That's all 3 phases. run game, kicking game, special teams, offense, and defense. You have to have a big time special teams play. That was a play that ignited, and you went on score before half. That was huge, actually huge in that game. I just think that when you look at this Chargers team and what they have in front of them, the Dallas Cowboys also, here's a team, Dallas, if you push them, they'll quit. Dallas can score some points. I think our
Yeah, they
secondary
can.
is going to be tried. They're going to be pushed this week. This ain't going to be a layup far as secondary and guys going to lock. They got some pretty good receivers, very athletic, and Dallas can stretch the field. Quarterbacks playing pretty good, but you can get after him. You can hit him. So it's going to be interesting to see how this defense plays against a team that can score, light up the scoreboard. So this is probably going to be one of the better offenses that this team has played thus far this year. But collectively, the Chargers are. I'm surprised they're dogs. They're a better team. You saw Minnesota going to Dallas and beat up on them. You can beat up on this team. You can punch them in the mouth. I just don't want the Chargers to turn the ball. If you can limit your turnovers and win the turnover battle, this Charger team can do. They, in spite of the offensive line, is a sieve, and they have some breakdowns. I love it, like you talked about with the reemergence of Amari and Hampton. He runs hard. He runs physical. He runs angry. The guy is a punisher. And then you look at Bardell, the way that he's running, slipping through tackles, breaking arm tackles. He's good in the pass game. The offense, it's I see it. I see it sputter. You see a drive where you're like, okay, I see it. And then all of a sudden you're like, watch him just like, turtle up again. You're like, let me see more consistency because you have some big play potential on the offense, especially if the guy at the trigger, Herbert. So it's going to be interesting just to see how this team plays in Dallas against a good friend of ours, Brian Schottenheimer. He wants to be physical and happy he has the head coaching job. Kudos to him. But this is a game you want to still win, even though you punch your ticket. You're still playing for even possibly the number one team in the division.
You mentioned the offense, Low. Dak is averaging 280 pass yards per game. That's first in the league. Here's what the Chargers defense has done since the bye: 125 to the Raiders, 230 to the Eagles, 190 to Patrick Mahomes, 148 to Aaron Rodgers, 118 to Cam Ward, 130 to the Vikings, 89 to Jackson Dart and the Giants, 140 to Bo Nix, 150 to the Raiders in that first matchup with Geno, 200 to Tua. Like, they are – you can't pass on this. You cannot pass on this team. Like, they are too good. That secondary is too good. Donte Jackson has been, just another brilliant free agent signing by Joe Ortiz. Opportunistic. His numbers are ridiculous. I got to let me see if I can get the full numbers. Well, at least in this game, let me see if I can get the full numbers for Donte. Like, it is crazy. People don't target him, and when they do, they make mistakes. It's either a pass breakup or let me see, where is it? Where are you at, Donte? So Donte has played. Let's see, he's been in coverage 372 snaps. Of those snaps, he has been targeted 43 times. On those 43 targets, he has allowed 20 receptions for 224 yards on 43 attempts. So you're talking about 5 yards per attempt when they're targeting him. On top of that, he's only allowed 1 touchdown, and he has 4 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, not to mention the assist for the interception that he had to Tony Jefferson as well. Like, the quarterback rating against him is 31.5. Like, that's what you're dealing with. So with Donte out there, with the way that George Pickens been pouting, I wouldn't be surprised. Not to mention Cam Hart, who's been sensational as well. Cam Hart, he had a heck of a game against A.J. Brown, even though, he's got an interception. He's got 12 pass breakups. He's got a QB rating against of, let's see, well, that one's not as good, 92.3, because he gives up some plays, but he also makes some great plays. But I think you talk about the physicality. What I'm getting at here, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at people, but what I'm getting at is you have the people to contend with this passing defense. Tarheeb on CeeDee Lamb, Cam Hart to get physical with George Pickens. You talked about how they might just kind of let off the gas a little bit. Man, you've seen a change in George Pickens these last 2 weeks, and that's always been the knock on him, man. He is incredibly talented, but, mentally he can check out And I think we've seen that
Right.
these last 2 weeks. And I think if you let Cam Hart out there start bullying him, and this pass rush is getting to Dak, and he's not able to get him some targets early, that's something that can get sideways, and that's a way you can get this Dallas offense off track.
Oh, you can, and I love Hart, Cam Hart, watching this guy play and what he did. Shoot, when you watch him against Philadelphia, that he doesn't quit. Here's a guy you
Yeah,
can beat him, but he's going to keep fighting. He's physical. I mean, you talking about playing Philadelphia? You're talking about one of the better receivers in the league. That was a touchdown, and for him
yeah,
to chop down on that arm to pull that ball out of there, he could have easily quit and said, "He's got me. I'm beat," and just said no. If he doesn't chop that arm and chop it violently, that's a catch because that
touchdown.
guy has some big mitts and he usually pulls those in, and that changes the game. That helped this Charger team win this game. So you're right. The secondary, you know that they're going to challenge you. They're going to give up some plays, but they're going to win. That's why this defense is optimistic because they bend but they don't break when they're playing their best Charger football game. Yeah, despite Indy, Indy was just didn't show up, didn't get off the bus. But when you talk about this defense collectively, how they just get after you and how when they're playing Charger football, when Jesse Minter has those boys humming, it's a tough out because they'll
Yeah,
make you, it's hard to win sustained drives against this Chargers defense. You might get a play here and there, but if you're talking about line up and drive it 80, 90 yards, that's a tough out. It's a tough
yeah.
out.
Yeah, and I think the one thing too, Lo, that goes along with the run defense is, before I'm sorry, with the pass defense is, well, maybe the numbers are low because teams are running it on them, right? And we know that the run defense had some issues early, and yeah, there is some of that. The Jags ran it for 192, that was a loss. The Commanders 163, that was a loss. The Colts 120, that was a loss. The Giants 161, that was a loss. Those are their 4 losses. So yeah, but again, when you look at since the bye, 49 yards rushing for the Chiefs, 31 yards rushing for the Raiders, and for the Eagles, they couldn't throw the ball, so they're just trying to. And really, it's 134, but one of it is the fake on the tush push. That again, I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, which I am, but Khalil Mack is literally there to make the tackle in the backfield,
Grab
and he
him.
is being bear hugged, and they don't throw the
Yes.
flag for holding. So if you go back and watch that play and you can just see the way Saquon and Khalil are lined up, it's like, yeah, Khalil is going to make that tackle. So that's 52 of those 134 yards on that one run. So again, to tip the cap to Jesse Minter and his staff, man, since the bye, they have figured some things out. And this run defense, this pass defense is, I know people don't want to put it in the same conversation as the Texans, but I mean, when you look at Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, and what Thule and Khalil and Owe are doing, they're kind of right there. I mean, statistically speaking, from a pressure standpoint, from a sack standpoint, from a disruptiveness that leads to turnover standpoint, they're right there. And
You give the Texans the edge because of the offense. Because defensively, let me tell you, I'm not trading this Chargers defense. I'm with you. They've shown they broke down a couple games with no charge, but who cares? But I defensively, I'm with you. What is the biggest concern if you're just looking at this? What is the Texans' edge them in your opinion? You think it's their consistency on offense more?
no, I don't think so. I mean, Stroud's playing better. I mean, they just played the Cardinals, so it's not like, I could put too much
Right.
into that. That team kind of
True.
rolled over. It looked
True.
like. So I would probably, I think I would rather have, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think I'd probably rather have the Chargers offense still. I mean, I certainly would much rather have Herbert than CJ Stroud. That's not even a question for me. I know some
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
making that a question, but that's insanity. But I think
Just
just
switch
kind
the
of
lines. If you switch the lines,
like that's
you
the
just
thing. Like that's the thing about Houston, right? Is
yeah.
they like everybody. The defense is great, but their offensive line is not. It's just not. I mean, he wasn't. So Stroud has taken a sack, 3 sacks, 2 sacks, 2 sacks. He's thrown for 260, 203, 276, 79. So he's picking it up a little bit, but for me, it's just it's more the defense, Low. It's more like I feel like this Chargers defense can be as effective as that Texans defense. And for all of the, oh, you don't want to face that. And the reason why I would give the Texans defense that edge is just Will Anderson he's in the Myles Garrett conversation this year. He's just, you can't stop him. I mean, he's unbelievable what he's doing. But to me, it's like, I think it's the same it's the same conversation. Like I'm ready after these 3 weeks, and maybe we wait till after the Dallas game. Let's see if they can slow down this offensive buzzsaw that is the number one offense in the league from a yardage standpoint. They average 29 points per game. It's the number one passing offense. Dak's the number one passing quarterback. So if you can slow that down, then maybe we'll start to hear that conversation about the Chargers sort of being in that same league as the Texans, as being able to win a playoff game with their defense.
I'll tell you right now, and I can't keep crying over spilt milk, but I will one more time. I'll go back down memory lane. If the Chargers, I know if and ands and Kennys and nuts would all have a Merry Christmas, but if they had these two tackles, I think it's going to a foregone conclusion that the Chargers may be Super Bowl favorite. That's what you didn't lose to just Pro Bowl. You lost two perennial tackles. I'm talking guys that
two all pros.
All pros, maybe Hall of Fame, depends on if these guys, if they play like that for 10 years. You lost two dominant guys. So it does a lot, and especially when you have a quarterback who's a top 5, top 7. All right, he's in the top 10. If you can protect that guy with the weapons that he had, and you have two bookend tackles that can block, pass. This conversation, it's a foregone conclusion that the Chargers, people are talking about their favorite to win this whole thing.
I'm just pulling it up, and who knows, it may make me look like a fool, which wouldn't be the first time. But let's pull up Houston and the Chargers together. So here's what we got: Will Anderson, 88 pressures; Danielle Hunter, 75 pressures. That's your top two. Thule's got 67. Khalil Mack's got 40. So there's a pretty big gap between Khalil and Danielle Hunter. You're talking about 35 separate pressures. But if you look at the pressure rate, low, you've got Khalil at 18.2% wins on his pressure rate compared to 17.2 for Danielle Hunter. Will Anderson, like I said, is a freaking machine. He's got a 21.2% pressure rate for the season. Like, that's not just always taking advantage and loading up on one.
That's
like
crazy.
His win percentage is at 26%. So that's where the big difference is. In terms of hurries, you got Will and Danielle at 67-52, Thule at 43. But I think the difference with Khalil is he's the best edge setter and the best run defender out of the group. Like that's to me, that's not even a question. Like Khalil,
and he missed 4 games.
Right, and he missed 4 games. Right? That's a great point.
Right.
I forgot about that. So and he missed 4 games. So that's why I was getting to the rate. If you just forget about the totals and you look at the rates, he's got a higher pressure rate than Danielle Hunter does. So to me, it's close. That 3 of Autry, Anderson, and Hunter compared to Mack, Owe, and Thule, especially now that Jesse has tweaked it and the way he's working these rotations, and Owe's out there a lot more with either Thule or Khalil opposite him. And when you talk about that, what we like to call the NASCAR package, when Thule's over the guard and you've got Owe and Khalil at the edges, 55% pressure rate. Saw Daniel Popper, our friend at The Athletic, wrote about it. 55% low. Like that's the average is, like, you want to talk about high end. High end is like in the 30s. Like high 30s is like you are humming, man. And they're at 55%.
55. That's unheard of.
Yeah. And most of that is without blitzing. It's just those 4 coming. So it's like you look like my spotter, Craig, love him. He I can't tell you how many times in that Chiefs game he kept giving me this. I'm trying to get that so you can see it. 6 defensive backs. We saw them with just 4. Dayon's the spy, and they got 6 defensive backs out there, and Mahomes is running for his life because those guys are just whipping him off the snap. And you've got Dayon just spying Mahomes, so he couldn't run, and there were no answers to the test. Now you got 6 guys dropping in coverage. Mahomes is under pressure. He's rolling out. Dayon's rolling with him. He's looking at him, going, nope, and that's it.
Not happening.
And that's it.
What is, when you're looking forward, when you say the Chiefs, when the Chiefs are done, let's just look at Denver and the Chargers. Is there a way Chargers can win? Is it over? Is Denver clinch this? What's going on? Who's Denver has left? how's this thing play out?
Yeah, we can, we can wrap it with this stuff as we look further ahead. Again, our friends at FanDuel, Cowboys favored by 2.5. They're expecting this Cowboys offense to hum, I'm guessing, or actually their defense has been so bad. Makes sense. The Chargers offense maybe gets into the 30s again for the third time this season. 49.5 is the over-under there. Let's get you some individuals. They got Herbert's over-under for passing at 247.5, 1.5 passing touchdowns. For Hampton, plus 105 to score a touchdown. Love seeing him get his first receiving touchdown. That was a beauty. Plus 750 for 2 touchdowns. That's an interesting one. Obviously plus 750 is a chunk if you get that right, but that could be an interesting one. To Denver, look, man, Jacksonville's playing some ball now. They are playing some ball right now. So that's not going to be an easy one. It is in Denver. I don't know. Let's see. I can look to see what the weather is in Denver right now. Is Jacksonville, right, a Florida team?
Right.
Are they going to roll into Denver? But this last Denver game was like 60 degrees out there. Denver's weird. So let's see. On Sunday, Denver is going to be it's going to be similar. At kickoff, it'll be 50 degrees. So they're not dealing with they're not really dealing with incredible cold. Jacksonville right now, they've won 5 straight. They have scored 48, 36, 25, 27, 35. Whatever the Chargers unlocked for the Jags, because they were miserable going into that game against the Chargers, Liam Cohen found something, man, because they are now averaging over 33 points per game on this 5-game win streak. I thought that Green Bay game was interesting, right? It felt like if Patrick Surtain doesn't intercept that pass and Watson comes down with it, that could have been a knockout punch. And instead, not only does he come up with the interception, Watson leaves the game. A few plays later, Micah Parsons tears his ACL, and it just got away from him. So to your point, though, to answer the question, Chargers went out, and you need the basically the Jags to lose. You need the Jags to knock them off this week. And that's
and like you said, that's very, very, very possible.
Yeah.
When Jacksonville's playing for something, they want it. Jacksonville believes that they're one of the hottest teams in the AFC, and rightfully so. They should be. They're dancing in the locker room. Their coach is tearing off their shirt. The guys are playing. You see the quarterback that's had so much. Trevor Lawrence is picking up, scoring touchdowns, throwing the ball, running the ball. They're running the ball. They're playing good defense. This is going to be a good game. They find a way to pick that off, win that game. That will be talking. It could be very, very interesting.
Well, and that's all it takes. Look, the Chargers have to win out. They've got to beat the Cowboys this week. They got to beat the Texans at home on the 27th. And if you can get the Broncos to lose one of these games, then you're talking about sweeping them. You get the win in Denver, and you end up 13-4 on the season. That's going to win the West, and very well can end up giving you the number 1 seed. And you might end up getting a bye. That's all still very much
very possible.
When you look at the standings right now, let's see, what do we got? We've got the Broncos at 12-2, so they're leading. The Patriots just lost to the Bills. They've got at Baltimore, and then at the Jets versus Miami. So they could probably get to 4. They could get to 13 if they lose to Baltimore. If I were betting, I would probably bet them to win all 3 of those games. And
where's that game? Baltimore.
It's in Baltimore, but Lamar just doesn't look right, man. He's not running. He hadn't looked right for 2 years now. No. I'll tell you what. So you want to know a wild stat, Lo? Is I'm just in, and I know you're in a hotel. You're working. We got to get you out of here. But check this out, man. DJ and I were talking about this. Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen, the last 3 seasons, has rushed for 39 touchdowns. The last 3 seasons, he has rushed for 39 touchdowns, right?
Right.
So you're like, okay, who are the rushing quarterbacks in the league? It's Josh Allen, it's Jalen Hurts, and you immediately think of a guy that's got 2 MVPs in Lamar Jackson, right? How many? So if Josh Allen has 39 in the last 3 seasons, how many rushing touchdowns do you think Lamar Jackson has the last 3 years?
25.
11.
Wow.
11.
Wow.
Like, that's how much it's changed for him, man, with all these. And that's the thing about running quarterbacks, right?
You
When
get
you're
beat
not
up. Yeah.
built like Josh
Big.
Allen, when
Right.
you don't look like a freaking horse,
Right.
it's gonna, and that's the thing about
It's a
Jalen Hurts as well, is he's not as tall as Allen, but he's built like a freaking fire hydrant. And so
yeah.
for Hurts and for Allen and for these guys, they can get away with it. But that's like my thing about Baltimore is everyone's like, what's wrong with Baltimore? What's going? And I'm like, dude, just look at Lamar Jackson. He does not look the same. Last 3 seasons, Jalen Hurts has 37 touchdowns rushing. Like, and a lot of that's the goal line stand, but hey, that still takes freaking power
That's
and
exactly.
physicality as well. So, but like, to me, and that, just to go to the point of Baltimore versus Pittsburgh and who's going to win the North, and if the Chargers don't win the division but end up as that number one wild card like they were last year, you're going to end up playing, I think, Pittsburgh. I do not think that Baltimore is going to be able to dig out of this. Just Lamar doesn't look
No.
right. So,
I read that. Yeah. Yeah. Either one. I think that you have their number. Maybe Steelers are starting. Steelers look like they're figuring out some things. They look
and
like a
Miami
little bit of.
stinks.
They do. And yeah,
Miami
man.
stinks. They especially when you put
They
them.
were on a little heater, especially the weather. The weather
That's
too.
it.
But the Miami was on a little heater the last
They
couple
were.
of weeks. Everyone thought, but you're right. You're getting that cold weather. And that's another thing. That's why it'd be great if the Chargers take care of business, which I really believe they can. And I really believe Denver riding a 10-game winning streak, 11. I think they're due to slip up. If
Yeah.
they can slip up against this week against Jacksonville and maybe Baltimore, because it's in Baltimore, who knows? And if the Chargers can get home, now you don't got to travel to, let's
Well,
say, Buffalo. Let's not travel to New England. Let's stay in the West Coast and play it. And it changes a lot of things. So the Chargers, I think they are very, very motivated to do what they need to do, and that's win out.
yeah. To me, it's Buffalo is I think reminded everybody, for all the
Don't count
incoming
us
they were
out.
taking when you got James Cook, who's a leading rusher, and you got Josh Allen back there running around for double-digit touchdowns again. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that is not fun. You do not want to
It's a
deal
tough
with
out.
that, and you don't want to go to Western New York. That's for sure.
No.
So let's hope that the Patriots are able to win that division, and the Bills are a wild card team, and they've just got to go play 3 road games. You don't have to deal with that because, man, something about Josh Allen. I don't know if it's all those years playing in Laramie and dealing with that kind of cold, dealing with Wyoming cold. Like, oh, you think this is cold? You don't know cold until you know Wyoming cold. So that's a place that I would probably prefer to avoid at all costs.
I think it's his. I think when you think about the league and you think about the last couple of years, Mahomes is in, Buffalo's in, and it's something about Buffalo. It's like, get rid of Mahomes. Now, if you're Buffalo, just subconsciously, it's like, hey, look, Joe Burrows is out and not in.
Yep.
Mahomes is not in.
Yeah.
We just
Lamar.
showed that we can beat Lamar's pretty not in. We just showed you that we can beat this Patriots team that's got a bunch of young players that's playing above themselves. This is our Super Bowl. I think Buffalo is motivated, and I
Yeah.
can see Buffalo running the tables just the rest of the season.
Yeah, but I'd like to see him as a wild card again.
Me too.
That
I'm
way,
like this.
because look, they may if the Chargers hold that number one wild card spot, then Buffalo's got to come to LA. If the Chargers end up winning a playoff game or two, and Buffalo does the same as a wild card, you'll end up having wild card showdown, and
It'd
it
be
would be
awesome.
here, similar to what almost happened last year, right, when the Rams almost knocked off the Eagles, and they were talking about hosting Washington for the NFC Championship as a wild card team at SoFi. You could make a case, like, when you look at right now your 3 wild cards. Well, actually, yeah, I think New England is still. I do believe that New England is still on top of the division, or did they cede that to Buffalo? No, yeah, they're still up there. So imagine 5 Chargers, 6 Bills, 7 Texans. You mean to tell me you can't see those 3 teams fighting for the AFC Championship game? I could
No
totally see it.
question.
I mean,
Give me
as
that. Give
opposed
me
to
those
New
3
England,
teams, and I'll
Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and Denver. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
give me the 3 underdogs. I'll take that
right.
bet right now. We
So
should do that on FanDuel. Let's go right now.
There you go. Not FanDuel. Let's get it. All right, Lo. Get back to your
All right, cheers.
your hotel room and your undisclosed super secret location, and we'll be back again next week following this. Well, let's see. That'll be Christmas Eve, so maybe we'll do it the day before. Maybe we'll do it Tuesday the 23rd, so we can have Christmas Eve to the families and do that sort of thing. So maybe we'll be here a day early next week, folks. Big thank you to all of you for downloading, for listening, for rating, for following along. Comment on the YouTube. I'll be better about getting into those comments. I have just been super swamped lately, but I will do a better job of trying to get into there with all your great insights and questions. And one last thing, Lo. I did get this. Lindsay, our executive producer extraordinaire, sent this along. This was from Nick. Money, I'm taking my daughter to her first game in Dallas. What would you recommend to do to be able to get her an autograph pregame? What I would do, Nick, is just work your way down right behind the Chargers bench. Cameron Dicker's the coolest guy ever, man. You kind of holler at him and wave at him pregame. He constantly comes over. We'll sign stuff. We'll take photos. J.K. Scott's really good about that as well, and they're the specialists, so they're the ones that are out there first. They're out there really early, and they're great about that. So as soon as those doors open, get in there, get down behind the Chargers bench, and that's typically where I'm making my lap, and I end up chatting with a bunch of Charger fans as well. So holler at me if you see me. If you want to just say hey, that'd be great. But yeah, I think if you get her down there and you get Dicker's attention, I typically feel like he's one you're going to at least get that autographed. That's pretty much a guarantee.
There we go.
And maybe Lowe will stay, and you can get Lowe's autograph as well.
Bolt up, baby. Bolt
there
up.
We go.
Let's go.
All right.